Good afternoon. This is the bad trade review for the last several weeks. We're going to go over some of our alerts, some of the stocks that we called that didn't exactly pan out, hit stops, etc., etc. I'm going to try and do this more often and try and keep on top of the trades, do a better job of managing some of these stocks, especially a lot of you new guys trying to figure out, which stocks to hold, which ones to dump whenever they hit stops. So hopefully you'll find this review a little bit helpful. First stock we're going to look at is BWEN. This was a trading alert back on March 2nd. By consideration, $1.55 and under with stops at $1.50. This was when the oil stocks were taking off. It essentially went nowhere. I believe it went up to 156 and then hit stops the next day and then pretty much went straight down before I had another dead cat bounce. We jumped in on momentum. The momentum did not work. Our stops hit. And, we did try this one again, actually, this past Friday in the chat room. And yet again, it fails. So, if I was to go back to this it would take a break of $1.40 to get me back in. And just given that it has failed to move 2 times now in the last month, even with alternative energy stocks running, if I do play this stock in the future, I would be playing it intraday only and not taking this, what essentially has turned out to be a turd stock home overnight. BNX, we added to our position back on March 8th, right before the market started to sell off. And, we just managed this trade poorly. Very, very, very poorly. As I've said in the other videos right now, we should have stopped out of this one at 30 cents. We fell in love with a stock that had a massive move last year and let common sense go to the wayside. Lesson learned big time on this one. But, we're looking for a possible double bottom here, hopefully this week. And, it does have a history of running later on this month and did a big move this time last year into April, into May. So, we traded this one. We couldn't trade it at any worse, I don't think, than what we actually did. And, hopefully we won't fall into that trap again. WZE, this is a stock we've been playing essentially for the last 3 or 4 months, in and out on the moves. Last entry was 26 cents, and it's been pretty much trading around that level throughout the last 4 or 5 months. So, this is a stock that if I was to revisit it now, I would wait for a break of 30 cents. So what do you do if you're sitting in this stock right now and you didn't sell out? The way I would approach this trade is one of two things. I would sell out at break even, 26 cents, which it tries to pop to at least once a week, if not twice. Or just hold it and wait for the move. I prefer to be out of this stock right now and add a break of 30 cents versus having the money sit here and just be dead money. Even though the stock continues to hold that 22, 23 support level, this is dead money right now. If you're okay holding it in medium to long-term accounts, fine. But, as a rule of thumb for our plays, unless otherwise stated, we usually like to have them have 3-week shelf lives at the most, and then just, sell, take the loss, and wait for a breakout confirmation to decide whether to jump back in. PESI, this was a trade we jumped into on the new crisis in Japan. They made money, seemed like the perfect setup, and of course the stock ended up selling off even when we jumped into this play. Back on March 14th, we had expectations of it, possibly falling 20 cents. Ended up falling that much and some more. We held through it, got a nice lucky bounce a couple of days later, back to break even, which was perfect on this one. And, we sent out the alert to just run for the hills and take that money. The lesson from this one, I think we played it pretty good. Probably should not have left stops as loose as we did on this play. If we had let ourselves get stopped out 5 cents below our entry at, $1.60, $1.65, and then look to add it when it dipped back to 150. It would have ended up being a very, very nice winner for us. But, sometimes when you're entering plays like this, and you have a plan where you're possibly going to see some downside risk, and the downside risk comes, it's going to happen. You're not always going to, hit it out of the park. What blinded us too on this one was the fact that they actually were profitable. And, the rule of thumb for small cap stocks essentially is profitable stocks end up being the hardest stocks to run. The turds are the ones that run the biggest. NVIS was a trading alert on the 21st. We got into this one 133 and under with a 150 target and stops at $1.30. Actually got back as high as the 142 level, the 20-day exponential, which in hindsight really should have been our first target. It's one of those things, whenever you're playing stocks in the 125 area, the natural target for those usually is the $1.50 level. I should have had to stick to the 20-day exponential as our, we play that moving average bounce all the time. Probably should have managed this trade a little bit better. And, what I'm going to start doing is on these email alerts, you can check and see. I'll start posting some update comments underneath them going forward. I know a couple of you guys had asked for that. So on the trading alert page, you can click on it, and starting with all the new email plays going out, I'll start off with ALVR and OPWV going into the next week. I'll keep updating them until either targets are hit or we stop out or we decide to go all cash, and, whether those plays are candidates to exit. So I know that was something you guys asked for. I'm going to start doing that next week. GGR trading alert on the 23rd. Oil play, nice chart setup. Looked like it was ready to go. We actually played this one again on Friday, and yet again the stock failed. Just a disappointing stock that for some reason continues to attract the sellers. We had stops at 65 cents on this one, which triggered a couple of days after we called the play just as well, because the stock ended up dropping another 20%. So, on a lot of these energy momentum plays, you might buy 5 or 10 stocks to get 2 or 3 winners. And the goal is, if you get stopped out, you don't throw them off to the side. You get stopped out, maybe they'll move later. But, it's almost a shotgun approach sometimes, especially on these momentum stocks when you buy a whole basket of them. You don't expect for all of them to actually move. Then again, on this chart setup, we didn't expect for this one to sell off like it did and then act as poorly as it did on Friday again. So definitely one going forward. If I was playing the stock again, it would be a day trade only. I would not take a stock like this that has disappointed 2 times now. Not a stock I would take home, similar to BWEN. BNVI trading alert on the 25th, 65 cents and under. Gave a 3-cent pop and then sort of just treaded, sideways. A big problem with a lot of these bios, the biotech stocks have been really, really hot over the last couple of weeks, but it's been the higher priced bios. The under $1 biotech stocks are deader than dead right now, and, that's been a problem. Doesn't take a whole lot of volume to push these down. Granted, this stock has a lot of cash, and what the buy trigger would be on this one now would be a close for me above the 65 cent level. If you're still long this one, even though it did trade below stops this past week, it has a possible bottom action. So if you're in it right now, odds are pretty good that we're going to get a bounce, especially if these small cap biotech stocks start to finally wake up. NEURO is another biotech stock, a penny biotech stock in the same sort of boat. We did an alert on this one on the 29th, 52 cents and under, cash-rich biotech stock. It has not triggered stops. Stops are 47 cents. But, if you're able to sit on these plays, some of my favorite plays are these cash-rich plays. So it's okay to sit on a play like this, waiting for it to blow up, with the expectation that your money is going to be dead for a while. Now, a stock like this that trades really low volume on occasion, that you're going to sit in any, for a period of time, you don't own a large position. especially on these under $1 biotech stocks. If your normal position in a stock that trades under $1 is 5,000 shares, let's say, on a stock like NEURO that you're going to hold for some time, you probably want to look to holding maybe 2,000 to 3,000 shares and then adding to the position when the volume comes in, almost like a placeholder. Again, this is one of these things. We've sort of backed off playing these under $1 stocks recently just because of the poor action we've been seeing lately. It won't last forever. It's just a matter of waiting for that volume to come back into these little penny stocks again. Another penny biotech stock that also did not work was DDS Laborapharm. This one is permanently on my ban list. I don't know how many times we've tried to play this stock over the last year, and it just continues to disappoint. Stops got triggered at 52 cents or 51, 52 cents, and just as well because this stock got hammered on Friday as low as 38 cents. Possible bottom in this one, but I really don't give a rat's ass. The stock trades like shit, even when it has a very nice chart. Excuse my French. It had a nice bottom chart, but the pennies are just not running right now. And until we start to see them really, really move with volume, I would actually probably approach these as intraday plays only. Sell at the end of the close, buy back the next day if the interest is still there. NTN, this is not a trade that has actually failed. This is a sleeper play, just like MCZ, but I thought I'd give an update on it. This is a play I don't mind holding for the medium term. We did the same thing with MCZ, medium long-term play, which means you don't sit in a play like this with a large position unless, you're really, really high cash and you don't mind sitting on it. But, just an update on this one. It's consolidating nicely. What we really need is that breakthrough 55 cents to light it up. Not as many updates on this one because essentially it's just trading dead right now, and we're just sitting on it on the medium term, waiting for it to go into a nice little move. I'm going to mention INO only because I actually mentioned it in the video this weekend. We're holding on to it even though it triggered stops, just because it triggered stops the last time before it ran big. So a little bit more rope on this Amex Bio, $1.08 for me right now. And otherwise, if you're not in the stock or you need to raise cash, 120 is the level you would watch for an add position on this one. REVU, we did a trade alert on this one on the 5th of April. 43 cents and under. Ended up popping to 48 cents. Very, very nice action. Gave it back over the last couple of days. We jumped into a nice little scalp position on this one on Friday, but definitely one to keep an eye on for moves intraday. We did get a win on this one, but I set our targets too high, 56 or 50 cents and 60 cents. We got as high as 48, the 20-day exponential. What it needs to get to those other targets is a close above the 20-day exponential. So that would be our next buy trigger on this one, would be a move over 50 cents. I'm going to mention GRVY. This was actually just a play we did in the chat room on the Gamer Momentum a few days ago, earlier in the week. I believe it was a week ago on Friday. We jumped in on a break at $2. Got as high as $2.10 that day and then gave it all back. We ended up selling it out in the chat room for a small little loss, I believe $1.95 or under. I can't remember the exact price. And then look what it did over the last few days. Just went splat. That's the issue with some of these low volume plays. If a stock is trading, 50 or 75K in a day like this one, and we jump into it with a small position, if you normally would buy 2,000 shares of a stock at $2, and you buy this low volume play that has 50K in volume, you buy 500 shares, maybe 1,000. Remember, it's a low volume play. It's one of those shotgun plays where you're trying to jump in and get some decent sized movement on it, but it acted like crap when its other peers were moving, which is why we sold, and it ended up being a very wise thing given the move that it did over the 3 or 4 days afterwards. So that's it for the update. Like I said, check the trade alerts page for the email alerts that go out. I'm going to start updating those every day or two, going through, whether we should be in it, what to look for, aside from what we do in the videos. Any other suggestions, definitely shoot me an email and let me know. And I will see you guys later. Bye.